Hi, friends. I wonder if I'm the only one who feels like the world's gone completely mad. In Valencia, Spain, doctors accomplished something that seemed impossible until recently. A young man who had lost both of his legs in a severe accident has begun walking again, thanks to the world's first double leg transplant performed in 2011. His name has not been disclosed for privacy reasons, but the story has already become a symbol of hope for thousands of people facing similar challenges. Because of the nature of injuries, fitting functional prosthetics was impossible. The patient's only chance was a transplant of donor legs. The operation, which lasted more than 10 hours, required a coordinated effort of a 50 members team at La Fe Hospital. It was a risky undertaking, and everyone understood that this was not merely a medical experiment but the fate of a real person and his chance to return to life. The patient took his first step in rehabilitation center pool, cautious and unsteady, but all the more meaningful. For him, it was not just a part of physiotherapy, but a true breakthrough, a move forward after a long month of immobility. The patient is recovering very well, without major complication. Everything is going according to plan, said his doctor Pedro Cavadas Rodriguez, one of the world's leading specialists in reconstructive surgery. For Cavadas Rodriguez, this is not the first such achievement. His record includes double hand transplant in 2006, a leg transplant in 2008, and even a face transplant with joint on in 2009. Yet every new operation remains far more than a dry medical procedure. It is a profoundly human story of pain, hope, and courage. This groundbreaking transplant demonstrates that medicine can do more than heal bodies. It can give people back what they thought they lost forever: faith in themselves, the ability to live fully again, the joy of movement, and the courage to dream of tomorrow. Apparently, John Tipton has a special romantic sport, and it's called the Fifth Third Bank. How else you can explain the fact that this man keeps coming back to the same place like a moth drawn to a flame? Recently, John once again showed up at a Michigan branch of the bank, hinted to the employees that he had a weapon, and demanded cash. The scenario was as familiar as an old sitcom, except the ending is always the same. Police apprehended the hero with little effort. But this time, even seasoned officers were taken aback. It turned out this wasn't John's first visit to the Fifth Third Bank. He had previously attempted to rob the very same bank, was caught and spent 500 days behind bars. You'd think that after such an experience, he'd at least pick a different address for his adventures. But no, love is blind, and John went back to the one. Now, this romantic story threatens to bring far harsher consequences. If the court proves that he indeed threatened with a weapon, John could spend the rest of his life in prison, remembering his beloved bank only through newspapers' photos. Still, he denies his guilt, apparently hoping that the third episode of his personal series will end up with a happy ending. But something tells us that this time there is no screenwriter who will write him a cheerful finale. In 2011, a discovery in the Vatican archives unearthed an ancient document that could overturn familiar understanding of biblical history. The manuscript, which had laid unnoticed for more than 250 years, is titled The Revelation of Magi and is written by dead Syrian dialect of the Aramaic language once spoken by early Middle Eastern Christians. The text was deciphered by Brad Landau, a professor of religious studies at the University of Oklahoma. He claims it is a 3rd century copy made of 8th century, just a few decades after the Gospel of Matthew appeared. This alone troubles historians. It suggests that alternative traditions existed alongside canonical texts, carefully hidden from the public. The content of the manuscript is startling. Unlike the familiar account, it states that not 3 but dozens of magi came to visit the infant Christ. Moreover, they did not arrive from Persia, but from a mysterious land called Shtar, which the researcher cautiously associates with ancient China. The author claims that the wise men were descendants of Seth, the 3rd son of Adam, and belonged to a secret sect of mystics who prayed in silence. The ritual and ceremonies are described in details, creating an atmosphere of mystery and subtle sense of menace. Especially unsettling is the episode about the Star of Bethlehem. The text says it transferred into a small, radiant human. Furthermore, it asserts that the Star of Bethlehem and Christ are one and the same, and that the God-man could take on any form. This is not merely a poetic metaphor, but a revelation that changes conventional understanding of Christian tradition. Landau himself allows that the manuscript authors may have been an eyewitness, but more likely belonged to the very silent sect of he describes. In any case, the discovery evokes the uneasy feeling a significant part of the story Christ's birth may remain hidden beneath layers of legend, rewritten and reinterpreted over the centuries. Waking up in the middle of the night to a blaring alarm is stressful enough. But for Cape Coral, Florida resident Kyle Mivette, this night turned into a full-on Batman episode. Hearing the warning signal, he looked out the window and spotted some would-be genius trying to break into his truck. The thief, however, turned out to be a spectacular failure, unable to break anything, but Kyle's inner comic book hero was fully awakened. Kyle decided to launch his own bat signal. He followed the criminal, who, like something out of a textbook on stupidity, headed straight to the neighbor's house, and Kyle took matters into his own hands. He caught up with the culprit, subdued him, and held him until the police arrived. And all of these, attention please, while wearing Batman pajamas. Yes, at that moment his superpower wasn't armor or gadgets or soft cotton fabric. No, just soft cotton fabric with a bat on the chest. When the officers showed up, they had nothing left to do but praise the brave citizen and laughed at his battle costume. Law enforcement called Kyle's action a shining example of what a community can do when its members aren't afraid to act together. And I'll add, here he is, the true Batman of our time, without the expensive suit, Batcave, or billionaire fortune, but with a strong grip, who would have enough Florida's nightmare heroes would step into the action in cozy pajamas and slippers. The morale is simple. Never underestimate the guy in cotton print pajamas. Today he's just a neighbor with quirky taste, but tomorrow he could be your very own Batman, capable of taking down a thief faster than the police can flush their flies. What do you think about it? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts, my friends. Share them down in the comments. I'll be reading them all.